Hello and welcome to the next episode, and joining me today is our super amazing guest, Mr. Simon Cohen. Hello, Simon. How are you?
Hi, Ben. Yeah, I'm really well, thank you. How are you doing today?
I'm great. I've never actually seen you in a Hawaiian shirt, I don't think.
Well, we haven't spent enough time with each other yet. That's what there is to it.
Clearly.
You should see the hula skirt I'm wearing as well.
I bet you can do a really mean sort of dance as well, and really, live it up.
Dancing is one of my favorite things in the world, but my Hawaiian dancing could do with a bit of work, I think.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. So, I just kind of want to just jump straight in, really, and if you could sort of tell us a little bit about yourself. I'm aware of a certain side to your story and things, but I'd love you to sort of tell us a bit about your background and what you do and how you would describe yourself and what you're doing today.
Thank you. Well, thank you for having me. Well, my journey started in this life at least, about 43 years ago, when my mum, through an incredible act of courage and strength and bravery and power, carried me in her womb for 9 months and then gave birth to me. Which I start there because I think it's a really important part of my background, and I kind of wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for that. But I also think it's something that we all share and is important not to gloss over, because we all come from that same space, that womby space. And I just want to kind of start by honouring my mum.
Shout out to the mums.
shout out to the mums and the divine feminine, for sure. So that's when my journey started, and then kind of fast forward, I now find myself on a cliff top in Cornwall, and very far removed from my days. I just went to a 25-year leavers do at my school, which was City of London School, right in the heart of the city. It was one of those where saying to someone, "Oh, well, how have you been the last quarter of a century?" It was bonkers. I'm definitely not old enough. I definitely was in the wrong place. I'm still 16. How do I describe myself? I try as best I can to offer hope. And I do that through trying to be a kind person. My background my professional background has been in communications, following a theology degree. I was always been an inquisitive guy, asking big questions around the meaning of life and purpose, what happens to us when we die, that kind of thing. And that curiosity has never really stopped. And I really had no idea what career I was going to go into after studying theology, as I was never religious in the traditional sense. But I set up a company when I was 23 called Global Tolerance, which was a communications agency, and ended up working with and representing a lot of the people that I was studying in my theology degree.
Yeah.
Which was bonkers, like people like His Holiness the Dalai Lama and Mahatma Gandhi's grandson and Jedi Knights and all kinds of weird and wonderful people. And that really encouraged me at the same time to look into my own personal and spiritual journey and my own values and my own purpose. And there's this beautiful symbiosis between the work that I did and who I am and try to be as a human being. And that symbiotic relationship continues to this day.
I always felt like when we first met, it was very clear to me that was how you felt about the development of, say, a business goal or a you know, like I was talking to you recently about, you know, success and those kinds of things, and how do we define success and things like that. I've always felt that you see the development of the spiritual person and the physical man as the same thing. And would you be able to elaborate a little bit more on that? On, you know, did you learn that through a theology course, or was that something that you think is kind of organic and it came from yourself and a loving mother? And
well, I think that as seems to be the case with our species, I learnt by experiencing the opposite.
Yeah.
You know, so straight after theology, I went into an advertising agency and ticked all of the conventional boxes of success. I became the youngest senior in the company's history. I had a company car, expense account, all of these things that ought to have made a 23-year-old around London really happy. But I wasn't happy. I was selling advertising space for people who didn't need it. I was making the fat cats up on the top floor a bit fatter. I wasn't really responding to that call inside to be kind, really, and to be a good person. I was taking the mickey out of my expense account because everyone else did it, and that felt okay at the time, which of course it wasn't. And I was out of sync with my sense of self. It felt like before work and after work, I was one Simon, and then during work, I was someone else. And that tore me in two. And so I realized that this seeming separation between the business and the personal, or the spiritual, or the non-material, or however you wish to phrase it, is not only flawed, because it's impossible to separate the two, despite how much employers and employees might try to do so and leave emotions and things at the door. It's also dangerous. It's unhealthy and can lead to burnout, anxiety, depression, and a whole host of other issues that are dangerous for our planet as well. Because I believe that where there is a loss of identity, where our purpose is veiled underneath material definitions of success, I feel that we have less capacity to be in service to the people and the planet that we care about.
It really resonates with me, all that. I mean, I see, sort of coming from the music industry. What is your favorite music, by the way?
Oh, well, at the moment, all I can hear is like Hawaiian music after a little chat. I want to get my hula skirt on. Can I not say that?
You can say that. Yeah,
I can say that. We're going to have a Hawaiian hula dance.
Let's do it one day, Si. Honestly.
I bet you've got a ukulele. Behind those cool guitars. You've got a uke, haven't you, Ben?
I've got one, Simon.
I know you do.
I've got the skirt. I've got the coconuts I can put on my chest here. Maybe
we need to get dressed and do this again under different guise, as long as we're not accused of cultural appropriation. No, I think I really do love almost all music. I've got a soft spot for disco. Obviously working with Nile Rodgers and being able to be in that space with him, and that helped for sure.
It does help.
It definitely helps. But you know what? I also love reggae. I love getting my stomp on to drum and bass as well.
Yeah.
And I also I love a bit of electronic music. I love house. I love most music.
Fantastic. It's hard to, I think you'd have to, there's a certain part of you that would have had to have died inside to completely cut off a whole area of cultural paradigms with music, to just say, I don't like jazz, or I don't like, house, or, baffles me when people do that.
You're right, although I'm still waiting for my heavy metal phase. Maybe I've just never had the hair for that.
It's coming. It's coming, Si. I'm telling
you.
Is it? After this call.
Okay, great. From hula to heavy metal.
Hula to heavy metal. That's that's an album name if we ever did something. Well, aside from hula music, I have no experience in that. Maybe you can show me one day, but certainly in the music industry, as I know it and perceive it. I definitely see a lot of artists, musicians and things on a daily basis who are sort of struggling for what you've described then as, what a 23-year-old should be happy with. That sort of the typical success, the typically Western version of success, which is the money, the fame, the cars, the everything else that you were saying. And the more that they sort of disconnect as you said, they fragment themselves into kind of the spiritual, the business, the person, the social. The more that happens, the more they sort of seem to come undone. What would you say is a sort of, if I teach as well, I'm in education, what would you say is, like I say, a good piece of advice for those types of people, young people who are looking to go into businesses or, looking to get a music career or, anything like that? What would you say is a sort of a good piece of advice to stop that from happening?
Thank you. Well, I think the first thing is to really question what is of most value to me. Because there'll be so many people who will say, oh, you need to do this, you need to do that. This is what success is. And, society will try to impose its definitions of success, of growth, a growth mindset, all of these very big concepts that are kind of clumsily pushed into a formula of this archetypal way to be. And then we climb a ladder against the wall that we're not quite sure where it leads to, and get to the so-called top and then discover, well, hang on a second, that's not actually what's most important to me. So it'll save a lot of time and climbing to begin that journey with really deeply questioning what is of most value to me. And I've asked thousands of people that question around the world, and I would say, less than, I'd say that 99.999% of people, it comes down to relationships. It comes down to their friends, their family, and basically non-material stuff. And that is gold dust. Mm-hmm. That is absolute gold dust. When we reflect on what is of most value to us, then the challenge comes, well, okay, how do we frame and design our businesses, our lives in such a way that it honors that which is of most value to us? Because success to you might be earning 5 million quid, having a private jet and going off around the world and missing your baby's bath time. But to me, I'd rather be there with the baby playing around with the rubber ducks.
Yeah.
That is of more value to me than that private jet or going around the world. And no judgment on you if that is your honest definition of success. Good luck to you, but that's just not for me. Mm-hmm. And so what the risk is that unless we pause and contemplate what is of most value to us, and B, make choices, business plans that honor and serve that objective of embracing those relationships, if those relationships are of what's most valued to us. The risk is that, our business is booming, it's great, but we're still not happy. Something still feels like it's missing, and we're not quite sure what it is. And by this time, we're a few years down the line. And I did this with a business that was in service. So it's called Global Tolerance. We worked with some incredible peacemakers and spiritual leaders and wonderful, wonderful human beings. But I realized after 10 years that I was going around spreading peace and tolerance, but Kate, my wife, and my friends weren't feeling all of the peace and tolerance.
Yeah.
And so I got so kind of carried away by the momentum of the organization that I'd founded, that I'd lost touch with my deepest why. Of course, part of my why was to serve, spread hope, offer hope around the world. But unless those that I care most about feel that, it really lacked credibility and authenticity. And so it's so important, not just at the very beginning to ask, what is my why, but to continually recalibrate ourselves to that question. And don't ever, ever accept anyone else's definitions of success. I don't know about you, Ben, but for me, I, particularly with my dad, love him as I do, lots of my inner voice has been, made any money yet? That was one of the things that I had from my dad growing up and in the early stages of my career. And it was really tricky to kind of drop that critical voice, or what I perceived to be critical voice, even though it was probably intended in love and his own definitions of success, to come back to my own inner voice, to find my own inner voice, to disentangle my kind of ancestral voices, societal voices, advertising voices, and other voices that are trying to tell me what I should be doing, and instead keep on coming back to what is of most value to me.
That's really, really powerful. Thank you, Simon. I think you're so right in saying that it's something that, society is so filled with slogans and buzzwords, and then we have school education and college education and then home education. And it all seems to be kind of jostling for position. And in and amongst it all, we sort of spit humans out on the other side of it and sort of say, well, good luck, and it's sort of, it's so difficult. I can see, particularly now, I don't know if you have any comments on sort of social media stuff, but I see on a daily basis students who genuinely are upset that they haven't won a BAFTA yet or something, because they compare their likes on social media to, I posted this and I got nothing, but they only posted a picture of their cat and they got 1 million, I can genuinely feel that they're struggling with that. They're struggling to reconcile that. On one hand, they know intrinsically that it doesn't matter because it is just social media. Yeah. But then on the other hand, social media has become such a big part of our lives now and our way to communicate. And, would you have any comments on that,
Yeah, I'd say it's really hard. And, I also, I confess to, if I'm on social media and I'll see someone with a certain amount of likes and I think, oh, well, I thought my content was okay. And it's only getting that, and finding, the comparing mind. What I'd say is that it's not our fault in a way. I think that we, several years ago, the statistic was that we see something like 400 marketing messages every day. I think it's probably a multiple of that, because this
easily.
Now we're in social media, we see thousands. And we are being conditioned. And I don't think there's any question of that, where algorithms and social media that amplify hate, that keep us consciously separated and against each other, pit us against each other because of the virality of opposition, and that breeds clicks, which breeds more advertising spend. That's just how the system currently works. I'd say a couple of things though about that. One is the importance of having one's own practice, and whether or not that is, for me, I have a singing bowl.
Yeah, of course.
And take 60 seconds out to contemplate what is of most value to me, or just to connect with my breath or my body, or it might be to go for a walk or a run or a swim, whatever that is. I feel that those moments, whatever that spiritual practice body, as Thich Nhat Hanh, rest in peace, that he called our spiritual practice body, it's really important to nurture that body, because that protects us against the conditioning. Mm-hmm. It enables us to to take that intellectual knowing, as you said, knowing that actually it doesn't matter, into an experiential one, looking at the quality of feedback. So I'd say personal spiritual practice body is important to nurture, but also not to underestimate the unseen benefits and beauty that your authentic sharing has. I mentioned that I went to this 25-year reunion hosted by our school, and quite a few people, again, who I hadn't seen in a quarter of a century, they're like, "Oh, I really loved your what if videos. When are you doing the next one? They're really inspiring. I love the one about your grandma who passed away. That really connected with me when." And I was like, wow, I had absolutely no idea that they or anyone else was really listening or taking notice. And not only that, but it had an impact. It inspired them and it connected with them. And so I think that, I don't just think, I believe that when we share, and social media is not innately negative or positive anything, it's a vehicle, it's a medium, just like our voices and our hearts are as well. When we express ourselves through whatever medium or vehicle in an honest, authentic and open way that seeks to connect deeply and is from that space of connection, the impact of that far transcends a number of likes, tweets, or emojis or anything like that. And I think it's really, really important to remember that. And part of how we remember that as well, and this would be the third thing in terms of a social media, is to connect with your community, your tribe. Because it's one thing for me reflecting on what is of most value to me, but if I'm hanging around people where they have such divergent things in terms of what's of most value to them, if all I'm doing is hanging around material boys from the material world, with their expense accounts and fast cards like me circa 97 or whatever, then I'm in danger of being pulled back into that. And I think that one of the criticisms of social media and technology itself is around echo chambers. But I think that one things that communities can do, our friends and our family and brothers from other mothers like you, Ben, is that they help to recalibrate us to what is of most value to me. They reinforce that, and there is real resilience and health and well-being in that tribe. And Absolutely. So I've been cautious about the echo chamber criticisms, because particularly after the last couple of years, when so many people have been strained and stretched to the limits, I make no apologies whatsoever for speaking to you on a podcast about possibly to other people who might agree with us already. There's something great in that. And if it comes as a reminder of, this is what's important in life, and it sets us up forward on our days with a bit more of a spring in our step to try and forge connection, to try and be a bridge rather than a destroyer. I see it with our 3-year-old who's into her Lego, but her big sisters are really into their small Lego. Right. And she loves nothing more than just to go and knock over her sister's beautiful creations in their Harry Potter Lego. And we're trying to instill on her, in life, you can be a builder or a breaker. And it takes a lot more energy and courage and determination and perseverance to build something and create something. It's super easy just to go over and destroy something. And how easy is that? How easy is that on social media, just to see someone's Lego castle that they've created and offer some hate and break it down? The invitation is, how can we build?
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Simon. Yeah, that's really, really interesting. It's sort of almost the conditioning aspect of social media, and not just social media. I think just kind of the way education influences us. I think, or I believe that most of the sort of the problems that we encounter on a sort of a personal, emotional level, they tend to be just trying to escape from that conditioning somehow, just trying to get away from it.
Yeah, I mean, even if we don't have any of that social media,
yeah,
we've got all of the media in our heads. Absolutely. Already.
Yeah.
Like, there's enough like hate.
I know.
There's enough like cyber or neurobullying going on with my inner critic. The inner critic before having to deal with the outer one.
Yeah.
So there's enough. There's enough work to do anyway.
Well, like you were saying about, your dad sort of saying like, come on, Si, have you made any wonga yet? It's like that. That's, you don't even need the social media to criticize you. You get it from your family, your friends. Yeah.
I mean, how I speak to myself sometimes. I've got a dear friend, Mark, who he says, I think that you've met him actually, that he runs something called Action for Happiness.
Yes. Yeah.
And he's just like the nicest guy you could ever hope to meet. But he says, how I speak to myself, I just swear at myself like a trooper. But then he tried to turn that inner critic to flip it. And rather than, using the F word on himself, when he heard that inner critic voice, he'd use it as an acronym to remind himself to be friendly, useful, calm, kind.
Yeah, I remember
friendly,
that.
Useful, calm, and kind. And I love that. And I think that there are these little hacks that we can use to calm ourselves. Another one that I've learned from him is that whenever he hears a mobile phone ring or a notification ping, almost treating it like that as a reminder to just take a mindful breath. And wouldn't it be lovely that if those notifications, all those pings, rather than being a nudge to annoy us, were an invitation to connect with our bodies in the present moment?
Of course, absolutely. And that's a really interesting thought, actually. What if all those distractions and noises and shouts and distractions were just were viewed as opportunities to get more in touch with yourself and what you really want in life. And
my teacher, His Holiness Karmapa, who I had the privilege of working with for 15 years or so, he was giving a teaching to some students who were just starting a 3-year retreat. And there was some building works going on in the background, all these sort of like novice monks sitting there trying to meditate. There's like drilling and like all this what's going on in the background. And the monks were like saying, like, can we close the windows and the door? And His Holiness was just saying, no, like, this is life, like, it's just white noise. It's just white noise. And we can experience it as painful, as something annoying, or we can just not give it labels and just try to experience it.
Mm-hmm.
I was in a couple of days ago, I did this Wim Hof thing. I was in an ice bath for 2 minutes.
Did you do it? Did you?
I did it. No,
wow.
Although, Ben, I must admit that I think I might be an actual superhero. I nailed it. 2 minutes in an ice bath.
Wow.
But part of this for me was, part of the wisdom of it is sometimes life's not meant to be comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, we put on clothes, albeit cool Hawaiian clothes, to remain warm or to try and comfortable. We put our heating on and we try to make ourselves comfortable. But actually, when we can, in a controlled manner, consciously put ourselves in uncomfortable positions, we can, through breath work and through other practices, achieve so much as human beings, so much more than we think that we're capable of. Those limiting thoughts or ideas that we have about ourselves, that again, that inner critic. that's not who we are. We are so much more than our limiting and limited ideas about ourselves.
Definitely.
Over lockdown, well, particularly the first part, it was a scary time for, I think, everyone. It was for me, it was a feeling of this sort of rare, universal feeling that, you know, every community, every village around the world was wondering, you know, there was this big unknown space, but it was scary. And we spoke already about the conditioning and a lot of negativity in the media and the daily statistics of growing death tolls. It was really, really difficult. And I was very conscious of the privileged position that I'm in and we're in here compared to other communities around the world. And really felt compelled to respond in some way. And I've always tried to be an unapologetic optimist. You know, I think it was Mandela, after 27 years in prison, he said, part of being an optimist is keeping one's head pointed towards the sun and one's feet moving forwards. There are many times when I could give up, but that way lays defeat and death. And it was, I may have slightly misquoted there, so sorry, Mr. Mandela. You know, that was after 27 years, and he's still talking about being fundamentally an optimist. And it struck me, and it's always struck me, that being optimistic is not something that is naive or away with the fairies. It is strategically sound response to life. You know, being optimistic is a smart way forwards. We know that there is something self-fulfilling in negativity, that if we respond to negativity with more negativity, it just amplifies. I think also on a deeper level, if I'm pessimistic, I'm kind of saying no to something in myself. Whereas if I'm being optimistic, I am affirming something about myself,
right, and
about our shared capacity in this world, about what's possible. And so we really wanted to offer something that was optimistic. And for me, the words "what if" were kind of pregnant with possibility. There's this kind of open up the dream world. And so I used to do Pause for Thought on the Radio 2 breakfast show, which was sort of 2-minute short form storytelling.
Right.
Often with a moral, ethical, or spiritual idea. And I absolutely love that. And so I wanted to take some of that short form storytelling and then into a what if format. And so over lockdown, it started with, for example, lockdown, what if it's enough?
Right.
And so it was trying to reframe the themes of the day into something more expansive and open-ended. So rather than, for example, oh no, supermarket stocks are down and you can only buy 3 of something, you know, what if 3 of anything is always enough?
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
Or if when everyone is, the next one was around testing, around the wider idea of testing, around this idea of conditioning and exams. And what if there's a bigger test going on here? And maybe this whole time is an invitation for us to contemplate what is of most value to us. And will we go back and sit down and at the desk of life and just pretend to carry on like, you know, we've just had break time and then go back to class? Or will we go back and and be our own teachers, I guess. And then, so I was really looking at the themes of the time over lockdown. And my last one, I should say my most recent one, because I'm still determined to continue with it, was on New Year's Eve, which was 2022. What if we could be like water? And that was really around the idea of how can we embody the quality of water in terms of how we respond to the challenges in life. What I didn't realize is that Bruce Lee said about being like water way before I did. I filmed this thing, put it out there, thought, yeah, great. And loads of people commenting online. I was in this bit like Bruce Lee, and I was like Googling away. I was like, well, no. Look, if I think along the same lines as Bruce, I'm happy.
That's a good thing, right?
So again, I'm an optimist. But when we come across a challenge, be it a setback, not enough likes on a post, a critical father inside, what if instead of going up against that barrier, trying to fight it, resisting it, raging against it, we can be like water, raise our level and flow straight over it? How can we invite some of that kind of fluidity and adaptability in a life that is so impermanent at the moment, that so much seems to be changing around us? And that these questions that I've been asking, these what ifs, have been very purposeful. So every line starts with a what if. And they're as much an invitation to my own self, the best part of myself, as they are to everyone else. I rage against the machine as much as the next person, but I do keep on coming back to that. And what if I can be like water? And part of what I'm doing is I'm getting in the water. I'm having cold showers. I'm lucky enough to live by the sea as well, or go to the pool, because actually by participating, putting yourself in the position, in the environment that is the most fertile ground to cultivate that which you wish to see in the world, you're going to be in a good state to manifest that stuff. So the what if is, even you asking me about it is kind of getting my what if belly, fire my belly going. Yeah. What would be your something like a what if that's alive for you at the moment, or a what if thought that you would offer the world?
Interesting. I think for me, what really is important to me and what I believe and what I feel is the truth, something that I've railed against, I suppose, is when so for example, on Speak Out, we were talking about the powerful why. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing all these things? And one of the things for me is that I genuinely or rarely have an agenda. That's I don't have an agenda to get across to people. I'm not trying to extract information from you here. I see sort of this conversation as that it's a conversation about something that I enjoy, and that's how I sort of see life in general. And I see life as not sort of I don't rail against positivity or negativity. I just kind of don't see either. I sort of put myself very firmly at zero almost. I sort of put myself as I'm not in it to gain anything. I actually came here with nothing. I'm going to leave with nothing. It's sort of so if that's a reality for me, which it is for everyone else too, I kind of, my what if for the world is, what if we let go of all that dwelling on memory, the past, or dwelling on imagination, the future, and what if everyone was able to just completely relinquish that and sort of just let it go and release it and whatever, and whether that's via some sort of technique or anything, I don't know if it is, because personally I feel that I just kind of one day realized it. It was just kind of, I just woke up and see it. I just see it like I get out of bed and I sort of go, I'm here, and that's great. And I'm not trying, I have a job and I make money and I do things and whatever, but for me, that whole process it's all fun. And like you said before, life is noisy. Life is very noisy, and nobody's life is perfect. And I'm particularly privileged as well, like what we've been saying. But it's that thing where, what if we were able to relinquish our dependency on conditioning and dependency on remembering old grudges or remembering good times even. I mean, I think sometimes even remembering good times can almost be a poison in itself, because you're sort of thinking, now is not good enough. I wish I was back in the day, or I was, that kind of thing. So for me, that what if is very much a kind of, what if there was no point to any of it, and that isn't a bleak outlook. That's a very liberating kind of weightless feeling. That's a sort of, a nowness, a relentless nowness in the present that sort of completely gives up the possibility, the need, the sort of the dependency on the future, the past. But what if everyone just lived here and now, and then looked at that honestly? That's what I think is my sort of message, and I think that's what sort of gets me, not through a day. I just see it as a way. That is my way of living. That is how I live my life. And when I go to do a podcast, or I do a gig on a stage, or I am in a job and people are going, "Oh, this fucking job is fucking terrible," all that stuff. Or I kind of see it all as like the same. It's all the same thing. It's all a sort of 0.0. If maybe I'm crazy. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense to me, and I think it's a lovely way to be, and I think that within your what if there's an invitation that even if people can't, or feel that they can't live completely that way right now, what if they could live a bit more that way, 1% more that way now, that we don't put so much weight on what someone says or external validation or whatever that might be, and then incrementally notice how that feels to them. Well, I think it's great. I think that my mind turns to what's happening in Ukraine at the moment and in other parts of the world. And I think it's important to distinguish between what you're speaking about and apathy.
Yeah, of course.
And I'm not for 1 minute suggesting that you're encouraging apathy, but I think that part of the invitation of our times now is that dance between kind of surrender to that which is, what you're describing, which is really beautiful, that letting go of clinging, of grasping for, the conditioned carrot that's being dangled in front of us, like we're donkeys, just letting go of that clinging and grasping. The dance between that and also, for me, wishing to be of benefit to all sentient beings.
Absolutely.
And to help those that are suffering, who are just an extension of who I am. And when they suffer, I suffer. And I think that just to offer some extra complexity to what you're saying as well, is that what if we can sort of let go of the nostalgia and these other things. A lot of it is subconscious, isn't it? So yes, there is something in, I'm going to be optimistic today, and let's be consciously positive, and that mindset thing, that's important, that's great. At the same time, there's our ancestors who have left their imprints, and my dad, who's still alive and well, we've spoken a bit about his imprint, but also what's happening in our community, in our friendship group, that's leaving an imprint. Also what's happening in Ukraine is having an imprint right now. We are not separate. And there is, in this globalized world, this symbiosis, this flow, this connection between the macrocosm of the universe, the cosmos, and what's going on in my life. And I think that when my experience is that when I've been feeling down or weird or just scatty or stressed, whatever, it's quite easy to say, oh, I'm stressed because of my job or because of my relationship or because of this, because the mind likes to compartmentalize as well. But what if I'm feeling this way because of climate change, because of the suffering going on, because of war, because of drought, because of the thousands of marketing messages a day? Yes, because of my business and my relationship as well, but also because I haven't had enough sleep or I'm really hangry right now. What if it's all of those things? And so it's important as well to going back to that dance, is that there is a letting go of that clinging and grasping. There is also that how can I be of service, and that drive and ambition that is fundamental, I think, to who we are as human beings. But there's also liberating ourselves from it's all about me and my journey in life, because we are just, we are drops in the ocean, but we're also the ocean in a drop. As someone once said, and it's not all about us. And one of the liberating things that is for me in this time has been that my grief is not just my grief. When I've lost friends, when I feel that sense of grief, when I've lost loved ones, it's not just my grief. It is also the grief of the planet and the grief of what's going on in the world. And also my joy is not just my joy. And that is also liberating as well. And that we can see those connections. That's just my kind of response to your lovely what if, while also recognizing in myself a slight tinge of envy that pops up when you said that. I'm like, oh yeah, I've been working with Buddhist lamas, I've been doing all this theology, I've got my singing bowl, and I'm still not like Ben. Still not like Ben. Never mind. One day. At least I've got the hula shirt
If you've got the hula shirt, you'll get there, Simon. You will.
Day by day.
Day by day. Just keep working. I'll show you some chords on the ukulele. We'll get there, I promise.
That's what's missing, and I'll be the best ukulele player ever in the history of the world. Oh no, I'm doing it again.
No.
I'm conditioned. What can I do? I'm conditioned.
Get back to work.
This is the work, though, isn't it?
It is.
This is the important stuff, and I love what you said about not having an agenda. It's that. It's opening our space to the gaps between the fingers, the magic, the mystery, the unknown. What if every single day we had half an hour or an hour of our day that just in our diaries that just had a massive question mark? That's all it was. It's just a question mark. And what if we opened ourselves up to that question mark and we punctuated our days with mystery and magic, with the unknown, of going into a space, a podcast, something that's supposed to be professional and recorded and with an agenda and outputs and outcomes, with an open heart and an open mind, and just trusting that what will come will flow, and that will be all good.
That's a fantastic note to end on, that, Simon. I think that's so important what you said. And you've given me a lot to think about there as well today. Thank you so much for joining me. And I'll get a ukulele shipped off to you with a collection of shirts, and we'll get practicing and get the band together.
Ben, you sort the ukuleles, I'll sort the shirts. How about that?
Okay, yeah.
Thanks so much.
Thank you very much, Simon. Thank you. Take care.